Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real_G Warner on Twitter, Griffin Warner on YouTube, the real_G Warner on Instagram. Whether you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, watching it on Twitter, on StreamYard, wherever you find me, I appreciate the support. Getting a ton of impressions lately, maybe because we're off to a hot start. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to keep it going. Fortunately, I'm home this week and not recording from a backyard in Southampton. Actually, it's kind of unfortunate, but I've been watching soccer all week, trying to catch up as much as possible. And we're going to get into today's episode. We're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues. We're going to put a best bet on there for each of the leagues, and then ultimately a super king, max, whatever we want to call it, best bet. I probably should crowdsource for a name on that one. Apologies, the view behind me is not as beautiful this time, but fortunately there won't be any dogs barking in the background, or unfortunately for some of you pet lovers. Without further ado, I did win my best bet last weekend. That was Brentford, a half a goal underdog at home against Manchester United. I believe that makes me 1-1 this season on overall best bets. I'm not counting them by the league because that's hard enough to keep track of as it is. That was a good win, pretty easy, and I wish they were all like that. So we'll start where the money is. English Premier League. Again, feel free to slide into DMs, send me ats, whatever you got on Twitter, YouTube, leave comments, subscribe, give 5 stars, give comments, ask questions. I'm happy to respond to anything I get. I know I'm way behind my Twitter notifications right now, but I will get to you and everyone as soon as I possibly can. So starting in the Premier League, without further ado, we'll go to Tottenham hosting Wolves. Currently Tottenham a 1.25 goal favorite. And they were very fortunate to escape with a draw last weekend. I thought they had 2 goals that were probably not deserved, could have been ruled out. At least the last corner, I think there should have been a free kick given for Marco Correa. And then the first goal was a ridiculous challenge that somehow was not called and then not overturned. Chelsea were pretty hard done by, but Tottenham were fortunate to get a point. And I feel like Tottenham have not looked great to start this season. Not questioning Antonio Conte, but I feel like a lot of that love that's gone the Tottenham way has not really been deserved by their play. Tottenham are a 1.25 goal favorite to Wolves. The nice part is Wolves are not really going to threaten them. They haven't scored goals for years now, it feels like. Bruno Lage just doesn't seem like much of a manager besides a defensive one, which is important here and will be useful for Wolves on the road in a tough place to play against a great team with, so much money spent in the offseason. As an underdog player, it's Wolves or nothing for me, but I just don't know that they can score. And I feel like, unfortunately, when Tottenham go up 1-0, that second goal is very much more likely to score than Wolves ever equalizing. So you're always in danger, and only winning a half of a bet on +1.25 is not enough for me on Wolves just yet early Saturday morning. Crystal Palace then hosts Aston Villa in the next round of games, or I guess time frame of games. Palace with a really good performance at Liverpool, especially from Joachim Andersen getting Darwin Nunez and his immaturity to really show out with a pretty strong headbutt right into the jaw. Almost expected Anderson to lose a tooth, but I think he's a hockey player. He got up, he stayed in the match. He didn't pull up his shin guards or anything. Currently Palace are a pick'em, but a very expensive one. And I imagine that moves to a 1/4 goal favorite. And I'm not really sure how to treat Palace this year. They don't really fit my gambling ideas. I did back them week 1 against Arsenal. I thought they played really well. You could even argue they outplayed Arsenal, especially you could say that after they fell behind early, but lost 2-0, had nothing to show for it. Couldn't finish easy chances, whether that was Ramsdale or it was the Palace finishing or lack thereof. I think it was more of the latter. But Crystal Palace are a really great home team. I want to back them as a home underdog. Clearly, that's not the case here against Villa. I'm worried about them on the road as an underdog, where they will be underdogs many, many times this season, because they really can't score goals. And that makes me want to go against them as a favorite at home. But Aston Villa have big troubles. They were able to beat Everton, who just looks like a disaster at this point. But they lost Diego Carlos to an Achilles injury, I think, for the season. He was a big signing, and it's been pretty clear to me that Steven Gerrard does not trust the combination of Mings and Konsa at center back, and that's what he's got for this matchup. Luka Dean scoring an own goal put a blemish on a pretty good performance, I think, for Aston Villa, but they weren't really that much better than Everton, I thought. And I just don't know, even when they move to a 1/4 goal underdog before this match kicks off, I just don't think that they're good enough for me to back. So I think I'm going to skip this one and move on to Leicester at Southampton. Not a lot of good teams in this one. Leicester currently a half a goal favorite with a ton of money issues. Looks like Wesley Fofana is not going to play this weekend as he's moving to Chelsea, or that move is imminent. Southampton, I think I'm trusting them in their player recruitment because they've done it for many, many years and maintained Premier League position. They certainly aren't great, and the way they fought back for a draw, I think you could really put a lot of that at Jesse Marsh's footstep, or doorstep, I guess is probably the proper way to say it. But credit Southampton for coming back. Didn't really see a Kyle Walker-Peters equalizer late to end up getting and clinching the draw that really Southampton almost went and won. Very disappointing for my Leeds bet, but at least I took half a unit home on that one, I guess. Southampton getting half of a goal on the road is a dangerous thing because they've had really bad history at Leicester, especially Ralph Hasenhüttl, who's been eviscerated. Leicester have attacking options. They certainly do, but their defense is really bad, has been for seasons now. And Daniel Amarte is going to have to play if Fofana is going to be held out, which is what reports are saying. And the Leicester defense is a disaster. They have big financial problems. I wouldn't be surprised if Tielemans is sold before the end of this window, or at the very latest will be done in January before he's out of contract. Suitors sound like Arsenal, but from where I sit, Southampton, the only way I can go. Currently, almost all the juice on Leicester. Maybe this climbs even higher. The higher this number gets, the more I'm interested in Southampton, though I'm not really a big believer in who they are, besides knowing that if you back Southampton, it's just all about James Ward-Prowse and hoping that he can find someone up front, because their striking tandem has really been quiet for a season and a half now, it feels like. Fulham then hosts Brentford in a big West London battle. Fulham currently pick 'em with all the juice. Maybe this climbs to a quarter of a goal, and that will make me want to back Brentford. I think I like what they've shown over the past two seasons. I feel like Fulham are pretty fortunate to be where they are with two draws so far to start the season. One, I guess they did miss a penalty in the weekend's matchup last weekend at Wolves, but I feel like they were outplayed. We'll take the quarter goal underdog and the half cash on that one, but ultimately, do I think that was deserved and would win more than 50% of the time? I'm not sure. But Brentford, they're going to bring a defensive lineup and they're going to make it hard on Fulham. Fulham are going to play for 3 points. They're going to go out all out. Brentford don't really have to do that after starting the year on 4 points out of 6. And I really like Brentford as the road underdog. They're going to need to climb to a quarter goal favorite, or Fulham will have to climb to a quarter goal favorite. Easy for me to say, but I think that will happen. And I'm going to be watching to see that Brentford get to a quarter. Might even grab it before lineups, which I usually don't do. Everton then hosts Nottingham Forest. Currently, Everton a half a goal favorite. Forest with a big win and an emotional first. It might have been their first Premier League match, but it was a home Premier League match for the first time in a long time. I know that. They've done a ton of buying and bringing in new players, and I think they wanted to ease them in, but a really poor performance in their opener, which wasn't as poor as the scoreline showed, a 2-0 loss at Newcastle. I think they needed to bring in their guys. They put them in there. Taiwo Awoniyi was a problem for defenses in the Bundesliga, a very different type of league, but ultimately he's a big body and he's not the most polished striker out there, but he works hard, he's big, and that's something that everyone has to deal with. Everton has so many problems all across their financial situation, still missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin, yet are a half a goal favorite because of a crowd that unfortunately doesn't kick a ball for them. It does matter a lot in their pressing and their ability and their energy levels, but ultimately Nottingham Forest or nothing for me on this matchup as the underdog, and I like them getting a half of a goal. I feel like Everton can't give a draw as a full bet victory to any really road opponent right now. Even the worst teams in the league, I just feel like Everton are so close to the relegation as I tipped them preseason to be a relegation candidate. I'm looking to go against them as much as possible in a draw. I think Nottingham, easy for me. Wow. I think Nottingham can go into Everton and get a win. I wouldn't think that's a shocking result. So Nottingham Forest plus 1/2 is very interesting. Bournemouth then hosts Arsenal in the nightcap on Saturday. It's really not the nightcap here in Dallas, but Bournemouth are a 1.25 goal underdog, got smashed by Man City, but that was expected. They tried to defend, and I imagine they're going to do that again here against Arsenal. They were a half a goal underdog to Aston Villa in a victory, the opener. Big time underdog at Man City, and now getting a goal and a quarter from Arsenal, who certainly the darlings of the league right now are off to a great start. I'm not sure that they deserve as much as they've gotten so far, but credit Mikel Arteta. I mean, he's got a great squad. Gabriel Jesus is terrifying right now. I lean to the home dog because they are going to have a big crowd behind them, but they're likely going to set up defensively and try to sit that way. Dominic Solanke, their best attacking option, I think he's going to be out with another week with an ankle injury. And I don't know where Bournemouth get goals. They do have Kiefer Moore, the tall Welshman up top, but like corner kicks from a team that's going to be sitting in its own end the whole game doesn't seem like a really, or set pieces doesn't seem like a really quick way or fruitful way to goals. So lean Bournemouth, but I don't know that they're really close to being a play for me. Moving to Sunday, West Ham hosting Brighton. Currently West Ham a quarter goal favorite at home. The juice is climbing on Brighton from earlier in the week, and it's deserved because West Ham have looked awful to start the year. Had a goal disallowed. Maybe you could argue that one at Nottingham Forest, and started with City and were competitive, but ultimately were unable to find the back of the net. And once City went ahead, they could not keep up. I think West Ham are endangered there. I mean, let's not forget 2 seasons ago, they were struggling to even stay in the league. The COVID year, they barely stayed up. They are now what seemed to be a European team, and they've added a fair amount to the squad, but not as much as you'd think. Skamaka seems lost. Wasn't really even doing much in Serie A, but certainly hasn't done anything really in the Premier League. You saw Declan Rice get a penalty save last weekend. I don't know who takes penalties for them, but that didn't look like a good one, and probably means he shouldn't be taking them. I imagine you still be on it unless Mikel Antonio comes in. And Brighton are going to possess the ball. West Ham, they really want to be a counterattacking side. They want to use their height. They're great at stopping headers, but ultimately Brighton are going to try to carve you up as much as they can. I like them as an underdog on Sunday morning, and I think that might make my card. Leeds then hosting Chelsea. Currently Leeds a 1-goal underdog, and plenty of demerits thrown at Jesse Marsch for collapsing and giving away a 2-0 lead at Southampton last weekend. Very simple strategy change by Hasenhüttl, which I guess he deserves credit for. Really put Leeds in a tough position. He didn't make any subs, and that's some big questions, especially in the heat that the English people are not used to dealing with. I think his, American roots made it seem like it wasn't so bad. But Chelsea with a dominant performance against Tottenham, already spoke to it a little bit, but they were as good as you could ask for. At home was a big deal as well, and here they're a big-time favorite on the road. I just don't know that Leeds can score goals here. Patrick Bamford getting injured. Rodrigo played really well for them, but ultimately the Leeds offense has cratered without Bamford. And I'm not sure exactly what role he'll play in this one, if at all. Chelsea looked really great in the midfield. Losing N'Golo Kante does seem like an issue, especially I don't think he'll return from a hamstring injury just a week later. The lean is to Leeds as the home underdog. Getting a full goal of insurance is a monster number. But Chelsea looked totally worth the value last week, and probably definitely deserved better than a 2-2 draw. Probably even deserved a 2-0 victory at home against Tottenham. So I'm not in a rush to fade them right now. Newcastle then host Manchester City in the nightcap on Sunday. Newcastle a 1.25 goal underdog, and I imagine this is going to climb higher. Newcastle, same sort of team they were last year. They've done a lot of buying, but we're pretty conservative in that, not spending a ton of money just yet, keeping the dry powder, I guess, available for them in January potentially. Their defense has been pretty good. Their offense is non-existent. Callum Wilson is a threat. I just don't think that he's going to be much of a threat against Man City. So I don't know that backing Newcastle here is enough for me, even though this looks like this is going to climb to 1.5. And the nightcap on Monday, Manchester United hosting Liverpool. United now down to a 1-goal underdog at home. I think it was 1.25 earlier. But Liverpool have not started the year off very well. That red card for Nunez is a big deal, but I think depending on their lineup and who's available and who's healthy, because I don't think that Nunez would have started if Firmino was available to them in their last match on Monday night. But Liverpool not off to a great start, should be out for blood. Manchester United, I don't think anyone can back them right now. I tried to talk off my co-host on the pregame podcast, European Soccer Pal. Check that out if you can. I tried to talk my co-host Mackenzie Rivers off that one, and I just feel like being a contrarian, buying low makes sense in some situations, but Manchester United are 100% a dumpster fire. They're the popular GIF of the garbage truck on fire, rolling down the street as fast as it can, crashing. Basically, that is Manchester United in a GIF, and I have no interest in backing them, and I'm looking to fade them as much as possible. I can't wait till they're favored again, hopefully next week. Next, we'll go to La Liga in Spain. We have a couple matches today on Friday. Espanyol hosting Rayo Vallecano. Espanyol a pick'em with all the juice right now. Rayo have fallen from a 1/4 goal underdog to a pick'em. Pretty good result for Rayo. Goalless draw, and also almost looked like they could have stolen a win late at Barcelona, but had a goal ruled off for offside. pretty impressive performance, but ultimately not scoring. There's only so much you can take from that. I think it's more probably a negative on Barca than it was a positive on Rayo, but credit them for the point that they didn't expect. Espanyol have done a lot of business, changed the team up quite a bit, brought in Diego Gonzalez from who you know from Granada, who escaped that, I guess, struggling franchise who ended up going down last season, but took them to Europa League play, and it was a pretty impressive run for him. I don't know that Espanyol are that talented, but I don't know really what to do with this one. At Pick'em, there's not much for me to do. At a quarter of a goal favorite, I think I looked to Rayo, but I don't even know if there's enough there because they had big problems last season and didn't do a ton of business to make the team better. I think because they're just trying to sustain themselves for another fight against relegation. In the nightcap on Friday, we have Sevilla hosting Valladolid. Sevilla, a 1-goal favorite, and they looked pretty bad in the opener. They sold off a ton of players, are kind of devoid of talent right now, at least compared to where they were in the past. Working in a new, basically a center defensive midfielder into a center back who play there a little bit. Their center backs are, I mean, they're not who they want to have there. Valladolid, my question is with Sean Weissman. He missed last week's game, at least I saw him in the stands in street clothes. I don't know if that's suspension or if he's injured, but Valladolid need him. They were putting some good pressure on Villarreal last weekend, but couldn't end up getting the goal. And then their 1-goal lead deficit turned into 2 goals and then turned into 3 and kind of got uglier than it really deserved. But Valladolid are a good team. They, went down 2 seasons ago, came back up last year, and I think they still have a ton of players that were in La Liga a couple seasons ago. They know how to defend, and I think they're going to make it hard for Sevilla to win handily. And Sevilla haven't won games in impressive fashion for a year and a half now, it feels like to me. So I'm looking to go against them as much as I can to start this year. It worked last weekend, and Valladolid getting that full goal of insurance is of interest to me and might even climb by the time this match kicks off this afternoon here in the United States. Moving to Saturday, Osasuna host Cadiz. Currently, Osasuna a 0.5-goal favorite at home. They're not a good offense and not a team I really believe too much in, but they had a good start to the season last weekend. And Cadiz are going to be struggling, fighting relegation. I mean, it's amazing to me that they're still in this league at this point. I do lean to Cadiz getting a 0.5 goal because a draw on the road will win a full bet. And I don't believe in the Osasuna offense, but they did a little bit of adding in the transfer window, more than you'd expect from Osasuna, and it worked out in that first weekend matchup. And I don't know that I want to back Cadiz because I don't really see them as a victory candidate here, or it seems unlikely that they'll win. Mallorca then hosts Betis. Currently, Mallorca a 0.25-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Real Betis are a great offense when they're clicking. Their defense can be shambolic at times, and I think from where I sit with this one, I lean to the home dog Mallorca. I just don't know that I believe in their offense enough. I don't think they can go pound for pound, punch for punch with Betis scoring. So they're going to have to play really good defense, and I'm not sure I believe in that just yet. Celta de Vigo then hosts Real Madrid. Celta, a 3/4 goal underdog at home. Real Madrid, have seemed to be a little bit underpriced so far to start the season, but they're still great. They still have Carlo Ancelotti and Karim Benzema, and they're going to score goals whether they deserve them or not. Celta de Vigo are great. I really like them. I think they've maintained their manager. They brought in a bunch of new players, unfortunately, because they had to do some player sales like Bryce Mendez to Real Sociedad. But Iago Aspas, while he's still there, it's very important. If he's doing anything on the pitch, then he can do it. And I like them as a home underdog. I don't feel like their style really works very well in Real Madrid because Celta are going to be on the front foot trying to score goals, and Real Madrid can punish them. They want to counterattack. It's going to leave a ton of space for Vinny Jr. and the rest of the speed of Real Madrid. Maybe it doesn't look as good on paper, and certainly looks like they just sold Casemiro out of the central midfield. Big money grab for him. Can't blame him towards the end of his career. But I just don't know until I get that +1 if Celta de Vigo are worth it. I'm not sure it gets to +1. And even then, I feel like fading Real Madrid is a scary position where they're going to have a lot of space to run into. Moving to Sunday, Athletic Club Bilbao hosting Valencia. Currently, Athletic Club, a 3/4 goal favorite at home. Big number, but it was also a big number last weekend. Valencia were a little bit disrespected, I thought, in their line last week. And I don't love Valencia. I don't love Athletic Club's ability to score. I feel like there's a good possibility that this one ends 0-0, which makes any sort of spread on the road underdog worth it, especially 3/4. All the juice right now in Valencia. Maybe this falls to a half. It's certainly in a position or a play range for Valencia, since a draw does win you a full bet, even if this line falls a little bit. I gotta do some more thinking about this one. But Athletic Club, they're a great defensive counterattacking side. and they're not going to have the space to do that because Valencia are going to play the same way under Bordalas. Valencia is going to be physical, certainly have big red card risk in that team. But I like Valencia because I just don't believe in Athletic Club offense, and really they're an underdog play and a favorite fade. Next, we'll move to Atletico Madrid hosting Villarreal in what I think is a big matchup for eventual European positions in Champions League. Atleti are a half a goal favorite. Villarreal with a big win at Valladolid to start the season off last weekend. It wasn't as impressive as the scoreline suggested, but their team I picked as a Champions League finisher this season, and off to a great start. Nothing to complain about. A 3-0 road victory. What they should have done against a newly promoted side, but they had to do it, and they did. Atleti, on the other hand, they're kind of in a team in flux. They won La Liga 2 seasons ago. Last season tried to go offensive. It was not working for them. Their defense suffered. Their offense was not good enough. I feel like they're the same team now. Diego Simeone will have the crowd behind him big time, and they do somehow pull off these ridiculous comebacks. But a lot of times they're to draw at home. And Villarreal, I think Unai Emery has shown that he can defend better than anybody. I feel like he can do that if he needs to against Atleti, but also he can be on the front foot because Atleti still, to me, are a defensive-minded team. They just have more offensive players on the pitch now. And I like that for Villarreal. Half a goal underdog means a draw is a win. And so I really like that. And I guess end of show, I'll go through each of the cards and come up with a best bet for each of the leagues, and then a super ultimate best bet at the end, which I'll grade end of show. Next, we'll go Real Sociedad hosting Barcelona. Currently Sociedad a quarter goal underdog. Always have a special place in my heart for San Sebastian. My first ever European soccer match was there. And Real Sociedad, they're gonna have a big crowd behind them. I mean, I'm sure the Barcelona ticket is 4 times the price what I paid when they hosted Mallorca last season. But Sociedad are a quarter goal underdog right now. They have all the juice on Barcelona. Maybe this climbs to a half, but it seems pretty cheap. And Barcelona with certainly a poor performance in the opener, but they have too many offensive players for it to continue. Real Sociedad have done a lot of buying in the offseason and certainly are trying to fight Villarreal specifically for that Champions League position. I just don't really believe in their offense enough, nor their defense, especially against a team like Barcelona. It's going to be a good measuring stick to see where Real Sociedad are. But I feel like there's a big gap between these two sides, and I just don't know that a quarter goal is enough for me. Maybe as this climbs to a half, Sociedad become a little bit more interesting. But until that happens, I think a quarter is enough for me to pass upon. Moving to Monday, Elche hosting Almeria, a battle of likely relegation candidates. Elche, pick them right now with all the juice. I like fading Elche as a favorite, so I'm hoping that Almeria will climb. Gonna have to do a little bit more digging into their week 1 result. Girona then hosting Getafe in the nightcap on Monday. Girona recently promoted side. They're pick'em with slightly more juice, -115 right now on Bet Online at hosting Getafe. I like Getafe. I don't know that they'll climb to quarter goal underdog. They're going to defend like crazy. Girona, I'm not sure I have enough goal scoring ability in their team. And so I'll probably not do much more with this one, but I like Getafe if they climb. Moving next to Serie A in Italy, and we have Torino hosting Lazio. These matches start on Saturday. Torino, a quarter goal underdog at home. And I like that side. I think the manager, Juric, is going to control the ball and try to possess it, which does leave them a little bit open for Lazio counterattacks. Lazio are a tough team to fade as a favorite because they can score goals. I like them as the underdog because they're kind of underrated. They're not given as much respect as the big 6 or 7 sisters or whatever the number is in Italian soccer. But lean to the home dog right now, getting a quarter. Moving next to Udinese hosting Salernitana. Udinese, a 3-quarter goal favorite. Salernitana with a huge comeback to stay in the league last season, but I think they're going to be fighting relegation all season long. I like them if this climbs to a full goal of insurance. I'm not sure it gets there. Udinese, though, are a team I don't really like to fade. I love them as an underdog, and I'm not sure that I want to go against them unless I get that full goal of insurance on Salernitana. Next, we have Inter Milan hosting Spezia. Currently, Inter, a 2.25 goal favorite. And Spezia are going to play on the front foot. They're going to give Inter Milan a lot of opportunity to counterattack or really just attack in general with space. It's a scary spot to be in as a 2.25 goal underdog. So I would probably skip that one there. Sassuolo then hosting Lecce. Sassuolo, a 3-quarter goal favorite. And they've had some problems financially. Have sold a lot of players. It seems like they're selling Raspadori to Napoli as well. Lecce, newly promoted into the league. Big concern about how they reach this level, though I lean their way at getting 3/4 of a goal with all the juice right now. If it saw 1, I think I'd be even more interested. At 3/4, I might skip, especially if it looks like the juice is going to send this one down to half of a goal before it kicks off. But don't really blame anyone fading Sassuolo at the moment because there's a lot of problems, fractures in that club. Moving to Sunday, Empoli hosting Fiorentina. Empoli a half a goal underdog at home. They score goals. The problem is that's not great for a home underdog that you really want to kind of sit in and defend. Fiorentina, got a lot of fanfare towards the end of last season, even after selling Dusan Vlahovic, and they have a lot of talent. They can score goals. So it should, looking at the over-under 2 3/4 in this one, that feels a little bit low to me. Maybe based on the venue, because Empoli is a newly promoted side or second-year team in the system in Serie A. Maybe there's not a lot of goal scoring expectation there. But I think there's probably goals in this one, and that unfortunately makes the underdog even less valuable. Napoli then hosting Monza, and Napoli are a -1.5 goal favorite. Monza have to prove themselves at this level. I'm not sure that I believe in them just yet, though Napoli have moved on their older players and are bringing in some youth. And it seems like there's a bit of a resurgence there for Napoli, despite a lot of money coming against them, finishing the Champions League spot towards the end of the transfer window right before the season started. Next, we go to Atalanta hosting AC Milan. Currently, Milan, I pick them with all the juice right now. Might even climb to a quarter goal favorite. And I think it's deserved based on Atalanta. Their fractures within the club, the player sales they've had to do. Doesn't seem like a great position to be in right now. Gasperini is still a great manager and will make it very difficult on Milan. And I lean to the home dog. Maybe if they climb to a quarter, I'll look at them even deeper. Bologna then hosting Verona, the nightcap on Sunday. Bologna currently a quarter goal favorite at home. And they're a team I like to go against as a favorite. Arnautovic is an awesome striker, and he's really important. Has to be in the side if I'm ever going to back Bologna. And probably if he's not in the side, I will look to go against Bologna when I have that opportunity. Verona, they're going to play aggressively on the front foot. Both of these teams, Bologna like to counter press or really just press highly to try to create turnovers to then get their offense going. Verona, they are probably happy to play with the ball, and they're going to be aggressive. They're going to leave a lot of space for Bologna, which is not a great thing to do as a road underdog, especially when you're going to be fighting the weather and the fans and all those sort of things. But Verona getting a quarter of a goal, I think, are interesting to me, especially because Bologna, I think, have trouble scoring. Moving to Monday, Roma hosting Cremonese. Roma 1 3/4 goal favorite. They did a ton of business this summer. Cremonese is going to have to prove it in the league. I feel like Roma can score goals in a Mourinho, and that's a scary, scary combination because he's going to bring defense. It's not as good at Roma, I think, as you've seen in the past. But Cremonese, I think, are going to have to prove it to me. Last but not least, Sampdoria hosting Juve. Currently, Sampdoria a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Juventus, they've done a ton of business. They're building, I think, from the ground up as they try to go back after another decades-long dominant period. I have bad memories from this matchup of backing Sampdoria before, usually getting a goal in a quarter and then trailing by 1 goal through the whole match and conceding late. I just don't know that Sampdoria are really on the level that I want to back a team against a really good team like Juve. Now moving to the German Bundesliga. And Friday, we have a match, Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting Hertha Berlin. Currently, Gladbach, a 1 1/4 goal favorite. Gave up a late goal, ridiculous handball when they should have just seen out the game at Schalke and lost a point, but are on 4 points, are a good start compared to last season where they were a disaster. Hertha Berlin, they fought really hard and I think deserved a lot better than they got against Champions League competition this year in Eintracht Frankfurt, though Frankfurt didn't deserve it, won the Europa League to get there, and I think are a team I'm looking to go against as much as I can this season. With that said, Hertha showed a fight that I hadn't really seen from them for a while. They barely stayed in the league last year, and that's a concern, but they are a goal and a quarter underdog at Gladbach, who have plenty of problems, have had to lighten their load and sell off players while they've recently been doing some business and signing players to long-term contracts. They're now trying to get Marcus Thuram to stick around. I'm not sure that will happen, but Hertha getting more than a goal is of interest to me. I'm trying not to back bad teams, and they are a bad one for sure. They have questions in their center backs. I just don't know that Gladbach are this much better than anybody, and they were a great fade last season. So I lean to Hertha. I'll think more about that for Friday's action. Next, we move to Saturday. Bayer Leverkusen hosting Hoffenheim. Leverkusen, off to a really poor start, have lost in the cup and their first 2 matches at Dortmund, and then a home game to Augsburg, which is a big, big embarrassment. Now they're home again, but 3/4 goal favorites to Hoffenheim, who have done a lot of building to their squad. I think there's still some question in their defense, but they can attack. They've always been able to attack, but it looks like a team that I think is starting to gel a little bit. Got a good win against Bochum last weekend. Hoffenheim getting 3/4 of a goal is something I'm very interested in, because that's too big of a number for Leverkusen's current situation to offer, especially that Florian Wirtz in the middle, who's been very highly missed. Borussia Dortmund then hosts Werder Bremen. Dortmund, a 1.5 goal favorite. Werder Bremen is coming up, newly promoted side, and trying to build a team that they really haven't had a good one for a long time now. Dortmund's defense has been better. Their offense hasn't clicked as much so far. I like Dortmund to win this match, and I don't know that I want to really fight the yellow wall. Also, anyone who has got Dortmund clues, ideas on how to get tickets, I'm trying to go to the Schalke match in September, about a month from now, and could use any help or ideas that you have, because the ticket system, it's in German. First of all, I can get it translated, but it's been difficult. Augsburg then hosting Mainz off a huge win. Augsburg, a 1/4 goal underdog at home. So not a lot of reaction to that victory in last weekend's matchup, but ultimately Augsburg are a bad team. Mainz going on the road. I mean, that's a big question to me. They weren't very good on the home last year, or on the away from home last year. I don't really believe in their offensive attack. Augsburg certainly are a team that I back a lot, and I never want to. But getting a 1/4 of a goal and seeing plus money, so it might even climb to a half. I mean, that's a big number for Augsburg off a really good performance and a new manager who might be changing things quite a bit. VfB Stuttgart then hosting Freiburg, currently a pick'em, -110 both ways, about as even as you can get. I believe in Freiburg, especially until European play starts. Stuttgart's offense seems very questionable. They got screwed by a call, just really awful officiating in Germany, which usually I don't say that, because La Liga is usually the king in that one for bad refs. But I lean to Freiburg on the road. If whoever moved to a 1/4 goal underdog, I think I'd lean that way. It doesn't look like that's going to happen before kickoff on Saturday. Wolfsburg then hosting Schalke. Currently, Wolfsburg a 1/2 goal favorite with all the juice at home. I'm not a believer in them. Their offense has been quiet, questionable, all those sort of things for a while now. Schalke, on the other hand, getting a 1/2 of a goal. I mean, fought to the death. They fought pretty hard, took a 1-0 lead, but then fell behind Borussia Mönchengladbach, got rescued by a late penalty to draw in stoppage time. Amazing, especially if you back Schalke against the spread. Good for you. I lean that way. I like to be against Wolfsburg. I just worry that Schalke don't really have that much talent. Recently, I mean, they won the Schweizer Liga last season, but ultimately they had to shed so much payroll and were in such a disastrous stretch before that. They should get some good crowd support on the road, but it'll be small compared to Wolfsburg's home support. I lean to Schalke, but that's mainly a play against Wolfsburg. Next, we'll go to the nightcap on Saturday. Union Berlin hosting RB Leipzig. Currently, Union a 1/2 goal underdog at home with all the juice. But they are a great home team. They have a huge crowd support, and Leipzig just haven't really that impressive to me. The Szoboszlai red card was pretty soft, I thought, last weekend. It changed them, but Domenico Tedesco has not had a good start to the season. I don't know that pressure is coming just yet, but Union at home are really great at home underdog, and so I'm very interested in them, especially against a Leipzig team that haven't started the way I think I expect them to be this season. Moving to Sunday, Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Cologne. Currently Frankfurt a 1/4 goal favorite with all the juice at home. Cologne are tough to really talk about because they sold Anthony Modeste, who is really important to them, and they're going to have to, I mean, they basically are redesigning their offense completely, and I think unexpectedly, unless they had an idea behind the scenes that he was moving. But starting this new guy Dietz at striker, big body, but certainly not the same prolific goal scorer, and that's a concern. But Frankfurt have been a disaster. They were really bad in the Bundesliga last year. They had a great run in Champions League, but it just wasn't really good enough, I don't think, to really make me believe in them. They've added some players, added some offense, but they just don't really seem to have it right now. Crowd will be behind them, certainly, as they travel everywhere, but they played a lot of matches so far. It hasn't gone great for them. And Cologne, I think, are going to fight to the death. I think that they're a good side that are trying to figure out how to score goals right now, which is a concern, definitely. But where the juice is right now, this might even climb to a 1/2 goal before game time. And if it gets to a half, I'm definitely playing Cologne. Last but not least, in Germany, Bochum, a 2.25 goal underdog at home to Bayern Munchen. They did beat Bayern Munich last season, incredibly, but this is a very different side, and they're fighting relegation. They have sold a ton. They have the lowest squad value by millions and millions, or 20s of millions, it seems like, according to Transfer Market, and that does not look good, especially against a Bayern team that can name their score. I think that Bayern will have remembered that loss from last season. They'll be pretty motivated and won't let this one slip. So I think I will pass on Bochum. And last but not least, we'll go through France really fast. Olympique Lyonnais are a 1.75 goal favorite today at home against Troyes. Troyes can score, Lyon can score. There should be a lot of goals in this one. 3.25 is the current number, and that's a pretty big number. But I don't know that I trust Troyes to stay in this one because I think Lyon are really good, and they certainly have a lot of problems. It's a big, big spread, though, to be frank. Next, we'll go Monaco hosting Lens. Currently, Monaco a 3/4 goal favorite. And I'm not really a believer in Monaco. They rescued a ridiculous equalizer off a big goalkeeper mistake against Rennes last weekend. And, I guess good for them. They didn't have a midweek match this week because they got eliminated from the Champions League playoff system. Lens are a great team. They're going to be on the front foot, and that's going to be a little bit scary because they're going to give Monaco opportunities. But I feel like Monaco just feel like a damaged goods out there that are ripe for the picking and ripe for the taking. And so I like Lens quite a bit to give them some trouble. Marseille, a 1-goal favorite then at home to Nantes on Saturday night. Marseille, that Velodrome is going to be awesome all season. I wish I could go to a game there this year or Champions League match maybe next year if they can stick in there. But Nantes are going to play defensively. They're going to try to keep it as tight as possible. Lafont in goal will be a big, big part of them trying to stay and hang around. I think Marseille did great business this summer. They're a really good home team. And though they weren't beautiful last year, they still won games handily at home. So I don't even know if +1 is enough for me. Moving to Sunday, Strasbourg hosting Reims. Currently, Strasbourg a 1/2 goal favorite with all the juice. Reims are a team I loved backing last year. I haven't really felt that way just so far this year. But I don't think Strasbourg deserve to be this big of a favorite, especially if it climbs to 3/4 of a goal. So I'll be looking at Reims on Sunday. Clermont Foot then hosting Nice, currently a 1/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Nice. Nice are, they're, I guess, a good team. They have a lot of money, but they lost Gaultier and this whole new project they were starting from scratch. Clermont Foot are in a tough position, though. They're going to play offensively and give a lot of space for Nice, and I don't really like that as a home underdog, even if this climbs to a 1/2 of a goal. Montpellier then hosting Angers. Currently, Montpellier a 1/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Maybe this climbs to a 1/2. Angers haven't proven enough to me at the top level just yet. But Montpellier have been really struggling for like a season now. So definitely towards the second half of last year, they're probably the worst team in the league. So going against them, I would not hate on anybody for doing that. Angers then hosting Brest. Currently, Angers a 1/4 goal favorite. Most of the juice on Brest on the road. Angers' goal scoring, I think, has been a question for a little while, especially with what they sold over the offseason. Brest are a good defensive side. I mean, it's going to be a big test for them on the road to hang. And it's tough because a draw only wins half the unit, but I lean to Brest, if anything. Toulouse then hosting Lorient, giving a 1/2 of a goal, which is saying a lot for last season's Ligue 2 champions. Lorient are going to go on the road, play defensive, sit in their half, and try to make it as hard as possible. Not great for a team that's been in the league now this is the 3rd season against a newly promoted side, but it worked against Rennes. And Rennes really struggled to break them down. I'm not sure that Toulouse will have much success, so I lean to Lorient getting a 1/2 of a goal. It feels a little bigger than it should be. Rennes then hosting Ajaccio, off to a pretty poor start to their year. But Rennes, I mean, they got to believe they let 3 points go. I think if they went into the Monaco, the Stade Louis II, and you were offered a draw before the match, they probably would have taken it. But I think we're pretty disappointed in that result. Currently, Rennes a 1.25 goal favorite at home to Ajaccio. I don't know that I believe in Ajaccio enough, but Rennes certainly haven't shown that they're able to score many goals right now. So I got to see something from them, or they're going to feel like they're going to need to be on my fade pile going forward. And last but not least, the nightcap in France, Lille hosting PSG. Currently, Lille a 1.25 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Lille got off to a great start, did win Liga a couple seasons ago, but that team is way different because they've sold so many pieces to now. PSG, motivation is always a question, but they're really good. And they have the former Lille manager who did a really great job of frustrating them. I think Lille can be close in this one. I do feel like it's a little bit of fool's gold, hoping they lose only by a single goal. So you got to feel like they can draw if you're going to back them here. Current number might even fall to +1, but I'm not rushing into it. We'll see what happens with the lineups and things like that. Lean to Lille as a home underdog and should be a big raucous crowd. I just don't know that I believe in the Lille start just yet. So in terms of possible best bets from France, Lille getting a 1.25 is of interest to me. Certainly Lorient getting a 1/2. Brest getting a 1/4. Reims getting a 1/2 right now, might climb to 3/4. Lens getting 3/4 of goal is of interest to me, also on the road at Monaco. And Troyes today +1.75 is a big, big number for Lyon with all their problems to cover. I think Lens will probably be my favorite from France. Them at 3/4 of a goal. go in reverse order. So in best bet, I'll give you the ultimate best bet end of show. Feel free, if someone's got an idea what to call that, please send me something, or I'll think about it. And so it's not on the fly. Moving to Germany, I guess I'll go start at the beginning on this one. Hertha Berlin getting a goal in a quarter day is of interest. Hoffenheim getting 3/4 definitely on the list. Augsburg at home getting a quarter of a goal might climb to a half. That's some value there. Schalke getting a half of a goal, I think is worth it. Union Berlin getting a half of a goal at home to Leipzig. Cologne getting what looks like a quarter right now might climb to a half by the time match day or the match kicks off. That's interesting. So Cologne's of interest. Union Berlin, Schalke, Augsburg, Hoffenheim, and Hertha. I think I'll take Hoffenheim as my best bet in Germany, getting 3/4 of a goal. I feel like that's way too high, and I think I like that better than Lowell's at the moment. Moving now to Italy, Torino of interest is a quarter goal underdog at home, of course. Salernitana a little bit if they climb to 1 at Udinese. Can skip a couple of the big teams. Empoli, that over 2 3/4 looks decent to me. Maybe Atalanta if they move to a quarter goal underdog. Verona getting a quarter is of interest, and that's about it. I think in terms, not a lot to love here in Italy, I don't think. I think if I'm going to have to pick a best bet here, man, this is a tough one. I think I'll go with looks like Verona getting a quarter is probably, that'll be my best bet for Italy, and certainly is not my strongest feeling at this point. Moving to Spain, Rayo Vallecano, if they move to a quarter, that'd be more interesting to me, but not there yet. Valladolid getting 1 is certainly of interest to me at Sevilla. Cadiz getting a half is potential. Mallorca getting a quarter, it's probably a little too low for me. Valencia getting 3/4 is of interest. Villarreal, I really like who they are as a half a goal underdog. Tough place to play. That's probably my best bet, and a lot of pick'ems on Monday. So I'll make Villarreal my plus 1/2 as my best bet for Spain. And last but not least, go through Premier League. I think the Fulham move to a quarter, probably still not worth it. Southampton getting a half is very interesting. Brentford, if they get to a quarter, would be nice, but unfortunately can't say that they're there just yet. Nottingham Forest getting a half from Everton are definitely of interest. And then looking at Brighton getting a quarter from West Ham, I like that. Feels a little low to me. And I think if I'm going to give a best bet for England, I'm going to give Nottingham Forest plus 1/2. And the overall best bet for this episode, match day 3, the real _ G Warner on Twitter, hit me there, at me, DMs, comment on YouTube videos, give me 5 stars on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, throw some comments in there. I'll try to make sure I do a little better looking at them as I'm not out of town this weekend. But I'll go overall best bet, ultimate best bet for this week. 1-1 entering this episode, coming off a win last weekend when Brentford took down Manchester United in a thrashing, easy victory. I don't know that this one will be as easy, unfortunately, but I'm going to Villarreal plus 1/2 of a goal at Atletico Madrid. I believe in Villarreal. I think that they have shown they can defend. They've shown offense. They have a really deep squad, and I think they're going to be really tough on Atleti. So Villarreal plus 1/2 will be my overall best bet, my ultimate best bet for match day number 3. Thanks for watching. I really hope I didn't forget to change the name and title of this one, but whatever. Anyway, match day 3 best bet, Villarreal plus 1/2. Go get yourself done. Hopefully make some money. Put some extra dessert on the table this weekend. And follow me on Twitter, the real _ G Warner. Talk to you all soon.